All right. So one of the things I forgot to do was to talk about the add a feature. Like, how do I expect you to actually do that in the exercise? So I'm going to review that on screen. I'm going to show you the how-tos, what I expect the output to be, and hopefully you'll get it from there. Any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll try to review that and respond. Thanks. Watch the video. It's coming up right after this. My WordPress, I'm now in my normal dashboard. I'm going to go to Pages right over here. So when we click on that Pages, I'm going to navigate to one of my pages. In this case, I'm going to navigate to Donate Now because it's got a couple of the other assignments that we're working on. I'm going to go to Donate Now, and I'm going to begin editing this page. Of course, I've got this section over here, but we're going to be talking about adding a feature, or in a lot of cases, it's called a block. You can click on the add block here and explore what those are by clicking Browse All, or to access that Browse All off the bat, you can go to Toggle Block Inserter, and you come in here. I'm going to be using the table block because I think it's a very useful feature. You'll find it useful frequently while you're putting it in place. So I'm going to drag that out to place, and you're going to get this table kind of setting up the parameters of your table. So if you think about the number of columns, I'm going to say 3 columns, and I'm going to make 4 rows. In this, I'm going to basically do something where, let's say I'm talking about someone's grades. So I create that table, and I create my header sections. By the way, you can actually come in and insert other rows if you feel like you don't need, if you don't have enough, or you can delete rows and insert columns. Let's say you needed more than just student name, class assignment, and grade. So that's all I'm going to do is say student name. I'm going to say assignment, and then I'm going to say grade. I'm going to align these. So the word grade, I would like that to be centered, as I will all of this content here. These, I'm going to want them left aligned. So student name, I'm going to say Paul. I'm going to say, quit that. I'm going to say Sarah. And then I'm going to say Tom. And then the assignment, I'm just going to say science test. And I'm going to paste those in place. And then I'm going to give grades. Let's say 90. Let's say 98. And let's say 76. All right, so Tom needs to work on that. But now you notice that they're all the same size. Like, what differentiates the header from the person under the header? So I'm going to bold these. You could even increase the text size by doing things like that, highlight, do other things. I'm just going to leave it as bold and stick with that. And so why would we use a table? That's the next thing I want you to do is go, here's the feature, here's how to add it, here's why to use it. Like, why would I go about using a table? In this case, it would be to put in tabular data like names, assignments, grades, where you need to make that association. But I'd like for you to do that with other items in here and go, what does this do? Why do I use it? Okay. And you can actually get that information from this overhead thing, creating a structured content in rows and columns to display information. And so when you do that, we're going to hop to my next section where you're going to see how I assemble that. And that's going to look very familiar to you, so stick around. I'm going to begin using a tool that is a digital tool. I'm not expecting you to use it. It just allows me to put Post-it notes on the screen. So starting with my first Post-it note, this is how I'm going to go about writing out. And you don't have to do this in Post-it notes. You can do this as just simply writing it on paper, capturing it in little blocks and squares. I'm going to say I'm adding a table to a page. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to review how I did that. So again, we remember I went to adding a block, went to grab the table and drag it out. So let's to do that, go to add a block. Find the table block, drag into screen where it is wanted. There's an alternate way to just simply click on it and it gets added wherever you want it. You could do that as well and say, hey, I just let it fall wherever it may, and then I positioned it later. So from there, I then, let's see here, what did I do? I came in, I added it in, and remember I got that little screen that allowed me to set the parameters, how many columns, how many rows. So set number of columns and set number of rows. I sure will pluralize columns. All right. And then after that, remember when we added the columns and added the rows, then we would have clicked create table. Okay, so click create table button. Then we began to insert content. We first started with our headers, insert header labels. All right, then we inserted contents into rows, formatted. We formatted headers and contents, and then maybe that's all we needed to do. We put the contents in, we formatted it, and yay, we're done. The next thing you might want to do is, okay, well, what happens if I want to change something? What happens if I want to change a feature? So maybe you would add in as a secondary component to your feature exploration is something like with the tables, maybe we add a column to the table. So again, I'm not expecting you to use this tool. So in that case, in the existing table, I might come over here to the table and insert a new row, which would put one more Paul, Sarah, Tom, and whatever. Maybe I would delete a row. Maybe I would add a column, let's say student. Maybe that's first name. Maybe I put last name. Or maybe I put semester that they're in, something like that. All right, so other sorts of things. You'll notice that there are other features to this exact same module or this exact same block that we did not use. And so I'm not exploring that, like adding a caption. But you could go about adding that into either the former flow, the first one, or into how to modify it. And so you do the same thing where you put a sticky and you would go about adding out that flow. Okay. Next section, we're going to talk about doing the last tiny bit, and then we're done. So I want you to put a couple, 3 reasons as to why someone else might use this feature that you're demonstrating. So I came up with 3 reasons adding a table to a page might be helpful. My first one was tabular data display. In other words, to be able to use tables for clear presentation of structured data, columns, rows, that sort of thing. The next one would be data comparison. By putting tabular data in place, it allows people to see side-by-side comparisons. How was Sarah's scores compared to Tom's? Maybe we could learn something. What was it that Sarah did in her studying that made her scores better than Tom's? And lastly, enhanced accessibility. Because they aid the accessibility for users with disabilities when used, they create extra space around text, they create them in columns, they center them, they justify them, but they put them in very clear blocks and they add that extra space and makes it understandable, easy to see, easy to read, easy to view. And there are other features that we can do that just simply say, go grab the table and make it useful to people who need to be able to use it. So those would be my 3 reasons here. You come up with the reasons for the feature you chose, and you come up with the reasons that you chose to use it. That might actually be pulled directly from the little fly out pop-up that came from when you pulled it over. But I want you to do a little more forethought than just copying and pasting what's there. Okay? Thanks.